DMS, come on in. Let's tour my stream studio. I'm Fraze, DJ, producer, one of the DMS editors. Welcome to my house. This is where I stream from, produce music from. I've been DJing professionally for about 5 years now. I started before that back in college, playing for college parties and toga parties and things like that.
You guys up for a toga party?
Toga! Toga!
And then after I graduated, I took it to become my career and started playing open format in the clubs. And now I DJ from my living room. So let's check out my studio right on over here. So this is where I DJ currently. Before the shutdown, I played in all the clubs in Seattle, like Trinity Nightclub, Voo Lounge, Lucky Strike. All fantastic clubs. These all had, tons of people, the full experience, great parties. It's so much different now to be DJing in my entryway room in my home for the camera instead of for tons of people. Still a great experience, but completely different. And I'm excited to share with you guys what I use and how I use it. Starting off with my DJ gear, I use 1200s, these are Mark IIs, and the S9, along with my MacBook Pro that I run Serato on. It's a pretty standard setup. I also have an SZ controller, but I prefer to use the turntables whenever I can. This is all pretty simple. It's just run out through XLRs into my audio interface. But while we're here, let's talk about the other stuff for streaming right here. We've got this here green screen. This is actually a pretty cheap green screen. It's only about 25 bucks on Amazon. It's fantastic though, it's really big.
That's what she said!
Which is great because it gives me a lot of room to, move around and really get into the streams, which I think is very important. The next thing are these soft boxes. These lights are great. You gotta have two of them. They cancel out the shadows on myself back on the green screen. And this is important when it comes to Streamlabs OBS, and when you key out the colors, shadows do not play overly well in that process. So this kind of lighting is really important. Let's take a look over here. The next part of the setup, we've got the camera. Right now this is a placeholder camera. Normally I use my Sony a7 III, which is the camera we're filming on right now. It's a great camera for both film, photography, and you can use it for live streaming. You just have to use the HDMI out into a capture card. It works great. It does tend to overheat though, because this camera was not originally intended for live streaming. So we have a fan here that we just point right at it, and just keeping this on, even on low, makes it so the camera never overheats and it works perfectly. We also keep a little mini mouse on top of the camera here. I find that it's a little tricky when you're playing to the camera and not to real life people to keep eye contact and keep that engagement. So it really helps me to have like a little stuffed animal like Minnie here to look at and like know where I should be focusing my gaze while streaming. Focusing my gaze while streaming.
It's white gaze.
I'm gonna regret asking, but what do white gay people have to do with this?
No, not gaze, gaze. Like male gaze? Fucked up way white people look at us and kind of judge us for every little thing we do.
We also have out here, we have my booth monitors. They're Mackie Thumps. I used to use these for mobile gigs whenever I'd go and do weddings or events. Now they live here as part of this setup. And here on this TV, we put up Twitch so that I can read the comments and interact with people. We do that through my buddy's PS4. All right, now all these cords, the ones coming from the mixer, the ones coming from the camera, it's all kind of a mess over here, but we run it under this carpet to the streaming computer. Now this streaming computer, this is where Nat Girl normally sits, and she helps me run all my visuals. That way she can time them to drops or whatever mood she thinks the song works with. Pretty simple, but it's a cool setup. We have all the audio running into this DigiDesign audio interface. It's an old interface I used to use in my music studio, and I recycled it out here for streaming. And all the video from my camera comes into this NIX capture card. It's a cool capture card. It has HDMI in and HDMI out, which makes it perfect for doing what I'm doing with DJing, but also makes it work great for streaming video games. That all runs right into this computer. This computer is pretty beefy. It's got a 2060 RTX graphics card as well as a solid Intel processor. All of that really helps when we're running intensive programs like Streamlabs OBS. Streamlabs OBS is the software that I use to do my visuals and to stream. It's a cool setup. It works with layers, which I really appreciate from a lot of graphic design work I've done with Photoshop. It's pretty intuitive. So every scene I create pretty much has a foreground. For example, on this one, it has this TV wall. It's just a transparent picture that goes in the foreground. Then in the middle, you put your camera feed and you key out the green. And then in the back, you do a background, like these EDM graphics I have in this scene. It's set up with a bunch of different scenes, really easy to click through.
Many Tic Tacs later.
And I think it looks great. I think it's really cool to see how different DJs are showing their creativity both visually and with music through streaming. And I think it's really fun. If you want to check out more of my visuals and more of what I do when I'm live, make sure to watch my stream both on DJ Fraze and on Direct Music Service on Twitch. Come on in. This is my music studio as well as my bedroom. I have a seat right here on the couch. Here, I poured you guys a drink. Cheers, DMS. So welcome. This is where I work every day. It's where I make my DMS edits, where I make my remixes, originals. Pretty much any work I need to do, I do it here. It's set up really cool in here too, actually. Right where you're sitting, if I have any guests or just roommates who want to see what I'm doing on my computer, they can chill right here and look at these screens. These screens mirror exactly what I'm doing on my desktop monitor. And so people can hang out and see what I'm working on. Super cool. Speaking about my desktop, my computer I have in here is also a custom build computer, good graphics card, good processor. It works super well for my work with Ableton, which is where I do all of my music works, where I make my DMS edits. Ableton's a fantastic program. It's what I choose to use. There's a lot of great DAWs out there. This is just the one I prefer. I use a Apollo audio interface in here. The Apollo is a great interface. I really like it. It has an onboard CPU that does its own emulation of analog plugins in a really cool way. I also use a Focusrite interface sometimes when I'm trying to do some other work that I need a different interface for. Also in this room, over here we've got my mic, and we've got my backpacks and gear, this great jetpack bag, custom for DMS. This mic's really cool actually. It has this thing on it called a Chaotica eyeball. This is a way to do like studio insulation so that when I'm trying to record in this untreated room, there's a lot less background sound. If you come over here really quick, my acoustic electric Taylor guitar. It's a pretty new addition to my instruments. I've really enjoyed it so far. I'm just starting to learn, but I've already been able to use it in some of my music production, which has been awesome. I've also got my electric longboard, which for the couple months of the year that's not raining here in the Seattle area, it's super fun to ride. Well, DMS, thank you for checking out my studios today. I hope to see you on the stream, and for now, I'm gonna get back to work.